Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabutsu. Namandabutsu.
Wow, can you believe it's February already? It's hard for me to think about it. Welcome to this morning's service. Today we are observing Shotsuki Hoyo, which is the monthly memorial service for those family and friends and others who have passed away this month. Today's service officiant is Reverend Sterling Davenport, with assistance from Reverend Sharon Sasaki. We will begin this morning's service with a fruit and floral offering from the 6th through 8th grade class. Thank you. Reverend Davenport will now lead us in a meditation. This will be followed by the reading of the February Shotsuki names, during which time the family and friends are invited to offer incense.
Please join me in Gasho with palms together. Being present. I like petals in the sunshine that sleep beneath the roses, and I like the sound a bird makes when its beak opens and closes. I like the way the grass bends in the passing of a breeze, and I like the way that the vines look as they climb and wind up the trees. I like the sound of snow, the pattering of rain. In this moment, I am present. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabutsu. Namandabutsu.
Reverend Sterling Davenport will now read the February Shotsuki Hoyo.
At this time, I invite anyone to offer incense when I read someone, a relative or a friend or a family member. Michiko Nishida, Laurel Nishida, Masako Ida, Hiroko Ida, Clarence Hasayama, Jeanette Hasayama, Minako Nakano, Alan Nakano, Nobuko Amano, Mike Amano, Mieko Kinoshita, Michael Kinoshita, Ruby Yoshida, Laura Yoshida. Hatsumi Oto, Amy Oto. Michael Mitsuo Doi, Doi family. George Yamamoto, Anne Yamamoto. Hideko Okado Smith, James Smith. Mariko Tanizaki, Gary Tanizaki. Mary Matsumoto, K. D. Ford. Fumie Yamashita, friends. Mary Grijalva Martinez, Yuko Niwa. Rose Watamura, Elizabeth Takasaki. Yoshi Nobu, Wakabayashi. Yoshiko White. Ronald Nishinaga, Mani Ryan. Toshi Haru, Glenn Yonekura, Takashima family. Sunoe Niwa, Niwa family. Doris Mishayiro, Amy Sato. Susie Shizuko Yamada, Bert Matsumoto. Shigeru Moriyama, Kat Moriyama Liss. Harue Yanagihara, Yanagihara family. Betty Torio, Wesley Torio. Joseph S. Shiraishi, Shiraishi family. Fred Hashiguchi, Steve Hashiguchi. Masami Honda, Amy Honda. Carol Inoue, Inoue family. Shie Hagio, Hagio family. Satoshi Jack Takagi, Takagi family. Mary Hoshizaki, Jackson family. Fumiko Momita, Gary Asao Momito. Iwao Yagura, Yagura family. Otomatsu Yoshihara. Hiroku Kubota. Koyoshi Nakamura, Nakamura family. Yajuro Nemoto, Nemoto family. Mary Sugimoto, Florence Koga. James Nicholas Link, Kat Moriyama Liss. George Hoshizaki, Jackson family. Misao Sugiyama, Sugiyama family. Eda Asamen, Masako Ueji. Sada Samashima, Richard Samashima. Miki Moriyama, Kat Moriyama Liss. Shima Fudo, Miyoko Yamanishi. Yuki Masumoto, Chiyoko Masumoto. Masano Harata, Hirata family. Megumi Torimaru, Torimaru family. Fumiko Yoshihara, Kubota family. Fred Yamaguchi, Yamaguchi family. Masanori Koba, Dwayne Koba. Suma Shimada, Sharon Shimada. Tome Yamashita, Mildred Kawasaki. Tome Morimoto, Morimoto family. Natsue Shinohara, Shinohara family. Ueno, Amano, Amano family. Yujiro, Nakano, Nakano family. Don, Sadao, Takishita, Takishita family. Sada, Suneyoshi, Suneyoshi family. Sada, Takasugi, Wayne, Takasugi. Mine, Iwataki, Iwataki family. Kotaro, Shimizu, Dorothy, Kimura. Ichigoro, Emane, Ohana family, Ohara family. Yukino, Kodama, Vivian Jones. Nami Nosuke, Date, Date family. Toyo, Furusho, Saito family. Ekechi, Ishisaki, Florence Koga. Michi, Hano no. Hana no. Gerald Hana no. Same Odawara, Higuchi family. Hatsue, Kimura, Ochi family. Rina, Yanagihara, Yanagihara family. Nami Nosuke, Tachi-ichi, Tachi-ichi family. Bunshiro, Takashima, Wilbur Takashima. Kiso Uemon, Sato, Wilbur Takashima. At this time, I invite anyone who's had someone pass in this month to give incense if they were not mentioned, or a friend or family member.
Please join in this chanting of the Sutra Jusei Ge, which can be found on page 35 in your service book. An explanation of this sutra can be found on the preceding page. Reverend Davenport will lead us.
Gagon Chosegan Ishimu Jodo Shigan Fumanzo Seifujo Shoga Ga Omuroko Fuidai Seshu Fusai Shobengu Seifujo Shoga Gashi Jobundo Myosho Chojipo Kukyo Mishomon Seifujo Shoga Ryokujin Shonen Joe Shubanyo Shigumu Jodo Isho Tenin Shi Jinriki Endaiko Fusho Musaido Shoujo san kumyo kosai shuyakunan kai hichi egen meshi kon moan hesoku sho akudo Sudan Zen Shumon Koso Jo Manzo Ioro Jippo Nichigan Shujuki Tenko On Bugen Ishukai Hozo Kose Kuroku Ho Jo Dai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyo Isai Boots Gusoku Shutoku Hon Gane Shinjo Man Toku Isan Gaio Nyobun Mugechi Sudan Mi Fusho Gangaku Eri Toshi Sai Shoson Shiganya Koka Daisen no Kando Koku Shotenin To Uchin Myoke Namanda Bew Namanda Bew Namanda Bew Namanda Bew Namanda Bew Namanda Bew Yani Shiku Doku Byodo Seisai Dohon Bodaishin Ojo Anrako Namo Amirbutsu, Namo Amirbutsu, Namo Amirbutsu, Namandabits, 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 Namandabits.
Thank you. If you're able, would you please rise for the recitation of the Rogemon, which can be found on page 97 in your service book. The San Diego Sangha does not often read this particular saying. I think you will appreciate the simple and beautiful words. So please join me. Ryogemon. I rely on Amida Buddha with my whole heart for the attainment of nirvana. I give up trust in my powerless self and abandon all practices that rely on the false ego. I know that because of Amida's boundless compassion, I am assured of rebirth the very moment I put my trust in Amida. I call the name Namo Amida Butsu in happiness and thanksgiving for the gift of the universal vow. I am grateful for Shinran Shonin and his followers for leading me to this profound teaching. I will try to live throughout my life according to the way of Nembutsu, what they have taught. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. Please remain standing for the Gatha, a special place which can be found on page 100 in your service book. Jayson Schmidt will accompany us. Excuse me. Is the spirit on the floor that is asleep? They say if you just for me. Thank you. You may be seated. I don't follow in directions very well, I see. I was supposed to, I'm out of order here. I was supposed to invite you to listen to Reverend Davenport's Dharma message. So we're going to do that now. Apologize, Jayson.
It was just as lovely, Jayson. Please join me in Gasho with palms together as I read the words of Shinran Shonin from the Kyogyo Shinsho. Tauriki, other power, means to be free from any form or calculation or attachment. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandabutsu. I asked for a taller mic and they got it to me. So good morning, everyone. So nice to see everyone here. Such a lovely day, especially for the Shotsuki service. We come together today not because we are perfect, but because we are human, learning, growing, and doing our best. And so today, I want to talk about how we can pursue joy and not perfection in our lives. And I really like this picture, just before I go into my talk. It says, at the bottom, negative state, so you're feeling really down, depressed. And then on the top it says positive state, so you're really happy and excited. And then on the horizontal, or x-axis for my math people, are the number of choices you have in your life. And if you notice, as you have more choices, your joy slowly increases. And then when you have too many choices, your joy slowly decreases, which is a lesson in too much choice, which we'll talk about today. So I like to start every talk with a question to give you something to think about. And my question today is, how can Buddhism help make us more joyous choices? How can we be happy and confident with the choices we have to make? And I think this is a good cartoon because you've got lots of choices. Clean mint, fresh mint, cool mint, spearmint, strong mint, and tartar. They're all the same choice, just with a different label on it. So every day we make countless choices, no matter how old or young you are. When we're young, even small choices are important. Which game we want to play with our friends and family, maybe what shirt we want to wear, or even what we want to draw. And these choices can be fun initially, but they can also be very overwhelming and feel weighty. You may think, it has to be perfect. This drawing has to be perfect. This game has to go perfectly. Everything about what I'm doing has to be perfect. And you may worry about making the best choice. You'll get stuck. You might get a little anxiety. But adults also go through the same choice and the same conditions. You know, we sometimes think, if I don't get this exactly right, everything will go wrong. The rest of my day is going to be off. Or sometimes, as adults, when we make decisions, we might think, oh, I should have done something very different today. I do this all the time personally. I have this joke with my wife. When we bought our first car together, it was a Subaru. And when we're going to buy the car, there were two options. They were both green, but one had leather seats and one had cloth. And I'm sitting there going, man, that leather would probably be really nice if there's a stain. And my wife was like, no, I think cloth's going to be fine. And I said, okay, let's go with cloth. And within the week, there was a stain already, and I thought, man, I should have gone with the leather. So I had a choice. I made a decision. It wasn't a life-changing, altering one, even though I see it stain all the time now. But it's something I have to live with. I have to think about. So choices are important. We get strained when we're put in a tough choice. Sometimes we go through a lot of drama, a lot of chaos. And oftentimes, because of the anxiety, we want to make decisions as fast as possible, hoping that if we just pick the best one, everything will turn out great. But that pressure to make the perfect choice can sometimes freeze us. We sit, we worry, and we end up making no decision at all. Or worse, we create shame and regret when we think about the decision we made. Not so much my leather car seats. It's natural for humans to desire perfect outcomes. We want everything to be just right. But chasing perfection can leave us stuck and afraid to move forward, especially if we fear making mistakes or we fear being judged by others. So I want to give you a little story real quick for the Dharma School kids. And this is about the wise counselor. It's a Jacques Tale. And it says, once long ago, there was a wise counselor who served a king facing a challenging question. The kingdom's harvest was uncertain. One advisor said, "Store all the grain so we can never lack food later." Another said, "Give grain to our neighbors so they can plant now and help us harvest more later." The king looked at both these decisions equally and said, "They both sound great to me, but we cannot make both at the same time. I have to choose." And so he waited, hoping that if he just chose the right one and thought about it long enough, everything would be fine. But every day that passed, the harvest season was slowly slipping away. The workers grew anxious, and the fields waited barren. Finally, a wise counselor comes to the king and says, "King, there is no single perfect choice. Each idea has wisdom in it. Why don't we take a little bit of both and see if we can make the best outcome possible? We'll store some grain for ourselves and share some with the neighbors." And with that, the king, no longer trapped in his choice and his dilemma, thought it was a brilliant idea and decided to move forward, to practice generosity with his neighbors and care for his people. And so they did. And the year's harvest was successful, but it wasn't successful because of a single decision. It wasn't because he made the best decision or a perfect or a flawless decision. It was because the king listened to his counselor and acted with clarity and care. He approached the decision with the right intention rather than waiting for perfection. So this story highlights something that the Buddha teaches a lot to us in these stories, and that's that life isn't about waiting for perfect choices to arrive. We don't have to wait for the best outcome or weigh every decision as if it's the most important decision in our life. Instead, the Buddha teaches us that life calls to us to act with compassion and clarity in the moment. And with compassion and clarity, every decision can be a good decision. So, what can we do with choice? Well, we can come to every choice with the right intention. The Buddha taught that suffering doesn't only come from pain or loss, it comes from grasping, holding too tightly. The idea that there always is a best decision if I control it, if I'm the one weighing all my options. For our Jodo Shinshu tradition, Shinran Shonin gives us a same insight in a different way. He says that when we rely only on our calculation, our self-power, we get tangled up in fear and confusion because we feel that we can control the situation. But when we learn to trust in what lies beyond our anxiety, Shinran calls this other power. We let go of the need for perfection and instead allow compassion to guide us in our decisions. So right intention doesn't mean being careless. It doesn't mean acting arbitrarily. It means acting with kindness, clarity, and attentiveness. It means not having fear in your decisions. It means trusting ourselves and others enough to move forward even when we cannot see every outcome in front of our decision. So how's this looking every day? How do we practice this in our daily lives? Well, for kids, we can choose a game because it feels fun rather than worrying about it being the best game for our friends and family. We can pick a color because it brings joy, not because it's perfect for the picture or it's going to be the best image possible, but just because it's going to look nice. For parents and adults, we can make decisions as a group, as a family, with care and compassion, and accept the imperfections along the way. And most importantly, we can let go of the belief that every choice has to be faultless. So a simple practice would be this. Before you make a decision, ask yourself, is it kind? Is it honest? Is this enough for now? You don't need perfection to make decisions. You need care and compassion. Whether we choose one shirt or two, one game or a voice in a group decision, what matters most is not the choice of being perfect, but that it comes from the heart that wishes for peace and understanding. In our story of the king, He wasn't waiting for the right answer. He was waiting to see the care and compassion in the answer he could make. As Shinran reminds us, freedom from the need to calculate every outcome, the freedom to act with clarity and compassion, is a gift. So today, let us practice choosing kindly for ourselves, for our loved ones, and for all beings. When I come back to the question I started with, how can Buddhism help us make more joyous choices? I think of letting go of perfection and acting with care, compassion, and clarity. Please join me in Gasho as I read once more the words of Shinran Shonin. Tariki, other power, means to be free from any form or calculation or attachment. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabutsu. Namandabutsu. Namandabutsu.
Thank you, Sensei, for your talk on how Buddhism can help us make more joyous choices, choices with the right intention, with kindness and clarity. So I'll give you guys a choice. Since I was out of order, do you guys want to sing A Special Place again? Okay, I hear chuckling, but no. Yes, let's do it. So Jayson, you don't have to play it again. Okay. Before we begin our announcements, do we have any first-time visitors to our temple? Okay, if not, everyone's always invited to ask questions, and we always have an informal gathering in the dining room downstairs following the service, so if you have questions, then you can ask. Do we have any announcements?
Waiting for somebody else to make an announcement beforehand. But next week we have our BWA memorial coming up next week, where we'll also honor Lady Kujo and Lady Otani. Primarily, in addition, there'll be a baby shower next week. If you guys haven't heard, if Reverend Sterling hasn't heard yet, this is a surprise now to him now. But in addition to the baby shower afterwards, we'll also have a Super Bowl party as well after the baby shower. Kickoff is at 3:30, so baby shower will follow before the Super Bowl, assuming the baby shower doesn't take until 3:30 or afterwards. And then so we'll have a potluck for both baby shower and the Super Bowl party, so you're welcome to bring items for both, or an option to bring food for either. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lorene Ota, part of the Well Care Committee. I'd like to announce we have a very fun job if anybody would like to take it, and that's the birthday card secretary. We have a list of the seniors 80 years and over and their birthday months, and we have a lot of pretty birthday cards. Stamps are there, so all you have to do is write their name and address and, wish them a happy birthday, and you can say Ingasho or Namo Amida Butsu if you know them. Add something, that you might like to say to them. So contact me if you would like to be a birthday card secretary. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Two short announcements. One is I lost a little piece like this. Has my name on it. Anyway, if you happen to see it, I lost it after the New Year party. So if you happen to see it, please return it to me, please. And the end of the other announcement is, you know that we're having the baby shower next week. Anyway, if anybody would like to contribute, And I'm speaking especially to like Dharma school students. If you want to put some of your allowance into this box, which is going to be decorated, and there's going to be a slot here, and anybody who has any cards or anything, we're going to make a bigger opening here so you can put your cards in if you want to. And then I will have a card that anybody who contributes to this can put your name on the card. Anyway, and this is going to be completely sealed up so that nobody's going to look into it except the people who receive it. Okay? So anyway, this will be in the annex next week. So please attend the baby shower. All of the organizations are taking part. So it's going to be fun, and there'll be good food. So thanks.
Thank you. I'm completely out of order. So I apologize. So, according to this, at this time, we will be continuing with our service, but the Dharma School students are going to be excused for their classes. And what we'd like to do is Dharma School, after you Oshoko, who remembers where the emergency exit is? We have several exits from the building. But we usually go down that stairs, but please, let's try to go down the stair over here to the eastern side, southeast side, okay? Am I really out of order? Okay. All right, Dharma School, Yumio Shoko. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and with me today. I'm a little bit off. We're going to continue the service with the recitation of the Vandana Tisarana. This can be found on page 96 in your service book. Reverend Davenport will be leading us, but we will all be reciting together.
Please join me from the beginning of the leader line. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Udam saranam gacchami, dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangam saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Kie Butsu. Namo Kie Ho. Namo Kie So. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo
Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabats. Namandabats. Namandabats.
Reverend Davenport will now give us a Dharma message.
Thank you all for staying. If you could please join me with palms together in Gassho as I read the words of Shinran Shoni. Pure Shinjin is the profound and vast Shinjin, which is Amidas benefiting others. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabats. 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 So I want to start today by continuing our discussion on choices and a lot of the anxiety that comes up with them and the problems that we have when we try and chase perfection. So as adults, our choices are usually a little bit more important in the fact that they have much larger effects. The career we choose, the money we put away for retirement, maybe the house we buy, the people that choose to be with us for either for our entire life or the people that come to us in short bouts. So when we think about these decisions, a lot of these decisions don't just happen instantaneously. We spend years trying to make the right decision so we won't feel regret later, especially when it's something as large as buying a house. Yet life rarely offers a single clear path in every decision we make. Instead, it invites us into ongoing experiences, choices and decisions that continue to unravel themselves along the way. And these choices not only are shaped by us, but they shape us along the way. Some of you might have heard this phrase before called analysis paralysis. It's from a book that I really enjoy. And this is the idea that we are frozen by fear of making the wrong choice. So if you can't read it, it says you have a new decision to make. You're going to start here, and then you freeze. You analyze every choice. You overthink every detail. You reach a final decision, and then you second guess and restart the process. And for a lot of us, this might look very familiar with a lot of our decisions. we not only make a decision, but we think about our decision and overthink our decision. And sometimes we don't even get to the part where we decide something. We're still thinking in that process. And so modern psychology uses this word analysis paralysis to describe it. But I think Buddhism gives us a different word that's much easier. And what is the root of this problem? And that is self-power. The belief that we must control every outcome. And only through our own efforts, discipline, and calculation can we make the best decision and control every outcome. This idea is shared by a famous guy named Barry Schwartz, who studied the paradox of choice. It's a really good book, TED Talk. And he explains why having too many options can overwhelm the mind. More options can feel liberating because we have more choices, more possibilities to be happy. But oftentimes, they also leave us exhausted, doubting, anxious. He boils it into two camps. There are those of us who are maximizers. We hunt for the absolute best, often ending up less happy. We do all of our research, we read all the reviews, we decide the object we want to buy or go with, like a brand new car. We make the decision, and then we instantly say, I should have gotten it in red, instead of getting it in white. So maximizers, they spend all of this time thinking about how they can make the best choice. They do all of the research. I am one of these people. I do a lot of research. But I'm usually more happy with my decision after I make it. Then there's other people called satisficers who look for good enough experiences. They experience far more freedom and joy because they just want a car. They don't care the make or model, the color, leather or cloth seats. They just want a vehicle that can get them where they want to go. So they're not trapped by this guilt or anxiety or this research. A funny story, as everyone already knows, we're having a kid. And, I'm doing a lot of research on stuff for kids. And I thought, you baby bottles, for example. There's only one baby bottle. You just go out and you buy that brand and you're good. There are like 50,000 baby bottles out there. And it is ridiculous. And not only the size, the shape, but the thing on top of it is different. And you have all of these choices. And I find myself going, what is going on with this industry? There are too many choices here. But it's just overwhelming. And then they have these review sites. We had to buy a stroller recently. And if you've ever bought a stroller, I thought that they only carried one brand. There's like 50 brands. You can go test drive them before you buy them. It's just crazy how many choices there are out there. But again, it's this paradox of choice. Did I make the right decision? When I buy in a stroller, am I buying the safest one for my kid? Is it going to make sure that if they get bumped by a car, they'll be fine? Or are they just going to fall out the bottom? So with all these choices, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. And so what Shinran teaches us, which I think can help a lot with these decision choices, is that self-power, the need to control, the need for that perfect outcome and option, traps us in doubt. But if we think about other power, if we rely on compassion to help us with our decision-making process, if we entrust ourselves to Amita's compassionate vow, this frees us to act joyfully, even amidst the uncertainty and the chaos. And so tying it back to right intention and Shinjin, self-power, relying on our effort, our moral discipline, our performance, and our performance is directly tied to these results, this fosters anxiety, self-judgment, and perfectionism, which doesn't sound like a very happy life when you think about it. But other power, entrusting to that which is beyond us, the compassionate activity of Amita's vow, this opens our heart, allows clarity to slowly drift in, trust to establish, and liberation from that constant fear of making the right decision. So right intention is not about the perfection of the choice. It is about where the mind goes when we have to make those choices. So when we think about two questions, Does it rest in fear and self-scrutiny when we make our choice? Or does it rest in clarity, compassion, and gratitude? If we think about our choices and where they're coming from, then we can allow ourselves to be open to doing the right choice for us in the moment. So how can we do this in a practical way? This is a cartoon from his book. It says, "The Paradox of Choice. Too much choice leads to paralysis and dissatisfaction." You can't read at the bottom. It says, "Wow, this has got to be great. There's so many options on this menu." Those are your raised expectations. Look at all the other flavors. There's your opportunity cost. I should have gotten the other one. Anticipated regret. And finally, I never picked the best one. Self-blame. This is what a lot of people, even myself, go through when we make a choice that we're unhappy with. He has a really good example of buying jeans. If you're old enough, Levi's only came in one shape and size, and you just bought the one pair of jeans. But nowadays, when you go to the Levi's store, they've got boot cut, straight cut, flare cut, large, small, skinny, athletic. They have so many choices, and you get lost in what is the best choice. And then you get them, you take them home, you put them on, and they don't feel good, or you don't think that they feel good. And so you instantly regret what you just purchased. So how can you stop this? How can you prevent this? Number one, we can slow the mind down before we act. Just because the choice is in front of us doesn't mean we have to make it that instant. We can put time. We can pause. We can breathe. We can notice our feelings and gently allow ourselves to be vulnerable to making the most compassionate choice. We can reflect on gratitude. Acting from appreciation instead of purchase transforms the choice from a test to an invitation to experience something new. We can eliminate unnecessary options, things that don't really matter. We don't have to put them on the table. Okay? If the color isn't important and the vehicle is, just choose the vehicle. Don't worry about the color. We can watch out for perfectionism. Notice when our mind says, was this the best possible choice? Could we have done better? And we can ignore those thoughts and let them drift away. We can learn after we make our decisions. You know, if things come up and we aren't happy, next time is a new opportunity, a new experience. We don't have to repeat the same choice over and over again. And lastly, if it's a big choice, make it smaller choices first. Find things that you need to say yes and no on, and then that slowly builds up to the final choice you have to make. These practices are what I think life is really about. We live finite, interdependent, and unfolding lives. We have to live life going forwards, but also looking backwards. Shinran teaches us that true Shinjin is rooted in compassion for others, not in self-earned merit or absolute certainty. And that is why we must challenge ourselves to pursue joy and not perfection. If we think about right intention, if we think about other power, we can live a life filled with courage and intention. We can choose clarity over fear, compassion over perfectionism, and trust over hesitation. In the humbleness of our daily decisions, we will find freedom not only in securing perfect outcomes, but by resting in intention, being connected, being compassionate, and with gratitude, make every decision the best we can with what we have. Not in self-power, but in openness, joy, and allow it naturally to arise within us. When I come back to the question I started with, how can Buddhism help us make more joyous choices? I think that by acting with right intention and trusting ourselves to something else and letting gratitude and care guide our decisions, we will make the most joyous decisions we can and be happy with the results, even if it's not the color we wanted. Please join me with palms together as I recite the words of Shinran Shonin in Gasho. Pure Shinjin is the profound and vast Shinjin, which is Amida's benefiting others. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabutsu. Namandabutsu. And one closing statement I wanted to add. I love the irony that the Super Bowl party is right next to the baby shower, because the number one position they tell you to feed your baby is in the football position. If you're parents, you probably know this. If you're not parents, it's a real thing, the football position. But I had to learn about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sensei, for your wonderful talk on right intention. If you're able, would you please rise for the Gatha Ondok-san 2, which can be found on page 128. And these are the words of Shinran. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. You may be seated. We will close with a meditation. Many times a day, my own outer and inner life is built upon the labors of my fellow men, both living and dead, and how much harder I must work in order to give in return as much as I have received. Albert Schweitzer. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo
Amida
Amida
Butsu.
Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabutsu.
Thank you, Reverend Davenport, for officiating today's service. Thank you, Reverend Sharon Sasaki, for assisting, and to CMA Bill Teague for leading the chanting this morning. Thank you to Yukari, CMA Yukari-san for bringing the kancho, and to Sharon, Bill, and Yukari for helping prepare the flowers, and to Joyce and Bill for the obupan. Thank you to Jayson Schmidt for the lovely music today, and to our tech team, Brevin, Ken, and others for assisting with the live stream and other media needs. This concludes the English portion of the service. CMA Yukari Williams will provide a Japanese Dharma message following the incense offering. So thank you for attending. You're invited to offer incense.
本語法話を始めますので、どうぞこちらにいらしてください。そうだ。あ、はい。What is that? Oh, this is
I was like, I didn't know how to approach that one. I was like, you know, things how well, you would have been good. Always gotta find out. Thank you, though. Thank you so much. You're blessing. I know. Oh, yes, it's very good. Very good, yes. Have you seen his presentations TED Talk? It's very good. Yeah, he writes books. His books are pretty cool. He got some good pictures of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's a like
Oh, no, I'm good.
okay.
I'm good. 弥陀成仏のこの方は、今に実行を経たまえり、発心の効力はもなく、世の猛妙を照らすなり。ナマンダーブツ、ナマンダーブツ、ナマンダーブツ、ナマンダーブツ、ナマンダーブツ。皆さんおはようございます。今日は日本語法話にようこそいらっしゃいました。皆さんにお会いできてとても嬉しいです。ただいま読みましたのは、親鸞上人がお書きになった浄土和賛。皆さんこの浄土和賛はご存知ですか？これは正信下をお務めした後に一番最初に出てくる浄土和賛です。正信下をお務めした後に6種ほど和賛をお唱えしますよね。ね、その最初の文です。弥陀成仏のこの方はご存知の方もいらっしゃると思うんですけど、今日はこのご和賛を皆さんと味わっていこうと思います。でこのご和賛なんですけれども、昔の言葉で書かれているのでちょっと難しいんですね。だから今の言葉ではどんな感じかちょっと言ってみますね。今の言葉で言うと、阿弥陀様はずっと昔に仏様になられました。阿弥陀様の光は教えとなって暗闇にいる私たちを照らし導いてくれますという役になります。今の言葉で言いますと、 今日はこのご阿参の中から2つ言葉を選んで皆さんにご説明しようと思います。まず1つ目の言葉は実行っていう言葉です。この実行は、今に実行を経たまえりの実行です。この実行はこうっていうのは時間を表す言葉です。で、今から例え話をします。でもこの例え話ね、いろんな先生がおっしゃっているので聞いたことある方もいらっしゃると思います。じゃあこの実行、まずこうという言葉の説明をいたします。では最初にとっても大きな岩があると想像してください。すごい大きな岩です。一方がね、100マイルもある岩で、高さも100マイル、すごい大きな岩でしょ。で、この大きな岩のところへ天女が降りてきます。天女っていうのは皆さんご存知知ってますか？ここに書いてあるってそう、ヘイブンリーメイデンのことですね。はい、それがその天女が天から100年に一度降りてきて、天女っていうのはここ羽衣着てるでしょ。こう上着っていうか羽織みたいなの着ていて、その羽織の裾で大きな岩をこうさーっとこういうふうにさーっと撫でるんですって。で、その時できた摩擦でこの岩が全部なくなってしまう時間、それが一行だそうです。で、親鸞上人のこのお歌は実行って言っているので、その10倍だからなんか気が遠くなりそうなほどの時間ですよね。そんな前に阿弥陀様は仏様になられたそうです。もう一つの言葉を皆さんに説明しようと思います。もう一つの言葉は世の妄名という言葉です。ここに世の妄名を照らすなり、これはどういう意味かって言いますと、暗闇にいる私たちという意味です。で、暗闇っていうのは例えで、なぜ私たちが暗闇にいるかというと、私たちは煩悩があるから本当のことが見えないんです。煩悩があるから本当のことがわからない。で、煩悩っていうのは三毒の煩悩で、日本語で言ったらなんだっけな、ちょっと忘れちゃったのでだってね、英語だったらギャスっていうじゃないですか、三毒の。むさぼり、怒り、愚かさがこの三毒の煩悩です。これがあるから本当のことがわからない。煩悩があるから本当のことが見えない。阿弥陀様は真理そのものなので本当のことです。ということは、私たちは阿弥陀様のことがわからないんです。私も阿弥陀様のことがわかりません。どんなに考えてもわかりません。だから、私は阿弥陀様のことがわかりません。だから 心から信じてお任せすることができません。この間それを感じる出来事がありました。それを皆さんにお話ししたいんです。私の夫の名前は J と言います。今日は J の話をします。J はお医者さんに行きました。で、その病院に行った帰りの出来事です。私がフリーウェイを確か運転してたんですね。そしたらごめんなさい。そしたら彼の様子がおかしいんです。どうしたのかなと思ったら全然落ち着かないし、ちょっとイライラしてるみたいな感じなんです。どうしたのかなと思ってたら分かりました。私の運転を心配してたんです。だから私が言いました。心配しなくていいから、ちゃんと家に着くから私に任せてって言ったんですね。で、私この時感じました。これは私が阿弥陀様にしている態度だなって思ったんです。彼は私の運転を信じられないし、私は阿弥陀様のことを信じられない、心から信じられないので、私の人生をお任せできないんです。私はお浄土ってあるの？本当にあるの？お浄土にちゃんと連れてってくださるの？お浄土にちゃんと連れてってくださるのって、そんなことを思っているので、ちゃんと私のすべてをお任せすることができないんです。私こそ生の盲名です。暗闇にいるのは私なんです。でも親鸞上人は教えてくださいます。こんな私だからこそ阿弥陀様は知恵の光で私を導いていってくださるのです。今日は、浄土和さんを皆様と味わってみました。私たちは煩悩があるので本当のことが分かりません。本当のことが見えません。阿弥陀様は真理そのものなので本当のことです。だから私たちは阿弥陀様のことが分かりません。でもそんな私たちだからこそ阿弥陀様は知恵の光で私たちを導いてくださるのです。親鸞上人はそういうふうに教えてくださいました。では、ご寛容は、ご文章の拝読をいたします。で、今日はこのご文章を昔の言葉で読んでみます。ですから、訳はハンドアウトの方を見てください。 上人一流のご関係の趣は信心のもって本とせされそのゆえはもろもろの造業を投げ捨てて一心に御霊に奇妙すれば不可思議の眼力として仏の方より往生は至上せしめたもそのくらいを一年発起入賞上実とも作しその上の称名念ブッダ如来我が往生を定めたまいしご恩法人の念仏と心べきなりあなかしこあなかしこナマンダウツナマンダウツナマンダウツナマンダウツありがとうございました何か質問があったら聞いてください。